If anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any Merlot!
Okay, let's watch some film! First up, Wayne's World. This film's based on a Saturday Night Live skit by Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, who went on to have great careers. I always thought it was a hilarious movie. I laugh every time I watch it. Now, first of all, you'd say, what the heck does Wayne's World have to do with wine? There is one wine scene in particular, and it's about champagne. When I was a kid, I think it was about 10 or 11 when I watched this film for the first time, so I didn't know anything about wine, but I do remember the scene, and I always think it's hilarious. I'm looking forward to watching it again.
I don't believe I've ever had French champagne before.
Oh, actually, all champagne is French. It's named after the region. Otherwise, it's sparkling white wine. Americans, of course, don't recognize the convention, so it becomes that thing of calling all of their sparkling white champagne, even though by definition they're not.
Ah, yes. It's a lot like Star Trek, The Next Generation. In many ways, it's superior, but will never be as recognized as the original.
I still don't get Wayne's analogy to this day, but I think this is a perfect example of what makes wine so intimidating to a lot of people. People associate wine with this kind of esoteric world, to this non-understandable world. I think that's why Wayne cracked a joke. I think most funny people would say something like that. I think champagne is the only wine that's actually done a good job of marketing themselves into a luxury, a status symbol, something for celebration. Next up is James Bond Goldfinger. This was a little bit before my time, although I've seen the old films. James Bond to me was Pierce Brosnan and then obviously Daniel Craig in the modern years. Sorry, Bond fans, I know Roger Moore, Sean Connery, yes, I know. I'm just showing my age a little bit. I'm a little bit younger, that's before my time. So let's check it out. I think that's why everybody wants to be Bond. Always with beautiful women driving awesome cars, guns, stylish suits, looking good. It's every man's fantasy, really. This scene in Goldfinger is famous because he talks about a champagne, and a specific champagne. But in this instance, I'm sorry, Mr. Bond, you got it wrong.
Why, you...
There's another in the fridge.
Who needs it?
My dear girl, there are some things that just aren't done. Such as drinking Dom Perignon 53 above a temperature of 38 degrees Fahrenheit. That's as bad as listening to the Beatles without earmuffs.
So he's drinking Dom Perignon 53. He doesn't want to drink it above the temperature of 38 degrees Fahrenheit. He wants to cool it down. Bond, you're right on a lot of things, but Mr. Connery, you are not right here. Even Champagne themselves, the region, recommends the ideal serving temperature at 8 to 10 degrees Celsius, which is 47 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. If you chill any wine down too cold to be ice cold, you start to lose the flavors, aromas, and complexity. I don't have a huge Rolodex of Dom Perignon vintages, but I have tried it before. It's a bigger, more voluptuous champagne. It's super complex. Drinking it below 38 degrees Fahrenheit takes away all those complexities and makes it a little bit less enjoyable for people that really love wine. If you don't really care about wine, then who the heck am I to tell you to not drink champagne cold? But in this case, Bond usually knows stuff. He's usually classy, but you're wrong on this one, Mr. Bond. Sorry. Next, a Ridley Scott film with Russell Crowe, A Good Year. Basically, the synopsis of the film is Russell Crowe inherits a chateau in Provence in the south of France from his uncle, where he falls in love. It's not a great film, I must admit, but when it's on TV, for some reason, I watch it. Maybe it's the beauty, the romanticism of the south of France. Maybe it's because I relate to Russell Crowe's character. He was in finance. He goes to the countryside, falls in love with the scenery there. I didn't work in finance, but I did work in Singapore for a long time where it's high pressure, really competitive. It might be that, or the truth is it might be if you've ever been to the south of France, it's easy to fall in love. It's a beautiful place. That's why a lot of people go there on holiday. A lot easier when you have a woman like Marion Cotillard. Obviously, I'm not going to pick up any French women with my poor pronunciation. Marianne just screams class. I remember first watching her, I think, in Big Fish, and then she was in a bunch of Nolan films like Inception, Dark Knight Rises, obviously in A Good Year.
Sunday night, 8 o'clock, Place de l'Étang. Don't be late.
That's every man's fantasy. A woman like that asking you to pick her up.
And I have a very, very short temper. I'm also extremely jealous and slow to forgive. Just so you know.
Well, this promises to be a lovely evening.
Next up, we'll go with some deeper dives. We're going to talk about two films that I watched when I knew nothing about wine. They really influenced me in things that I remember. The first is Bottle Shock, which is basically a fictional recreation of the 1976 Judgment of Paris, where an American Chardonnay and Cabernet Sauvignon beat out the great white Burgundies and red Bordeauxs of France in a blind tasting that was conducted by a British man, Stephen Spurrier, with all French tasters.
Everything all right here?
These Californian wines. Oh, so good.
Thing is, I've met the late Stephen Spurrier, who just passed away a few weeks ago. I met him twice on different tastings, different events. He was nothing like Alan Rickman's performance in the film. The real Stephen Spurrier, a gentleman, super kind, super courteous guy. But it is kind of funny in the film how he's portrayed.
Will this formal declaration be taking place?
In due course.
Why don't I like you?
Because you think I'm an arsehole. And I'm not really. I'm just British and, well, you're not.
When I first saw this film, I was in graduate school. I remember I was on a flight. I think I was on a flight from Atlanta to LA. I was just drinking supermarket wine. I didn't really know anything about wine. And the film's really not even a great film, but I really like it for some reason. And this scene stood out to me. Stood out to me back then, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it now.
Who here wants to wager a little money that this Mexican, son of an immigrant field hand, can't guess what kind of grapes are in these wines that our kind bartender has personally selected? It's Cabernet. Yep. 1971 Ridge.
Yep.
Let's see the bottle. Oh, that's nothing. A recent vintage. Answers like a lullaby at the tip of my tongue. Sonoma. Pinot Noir. 1962. Buena Vista.
Yep.
Back then, those wines didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know anything. I just thought the whole scene with Gustavo was fascinating. I thought, wow, if you could taste like that, that's really impressive. Although in this scene, this is a stunt. It's fixed by the bartender, but I thought it was so cool. But now watching it over again, it's awesome. The geek in me, like talking about Ridge, Cabernet Sauvignon, Buena Vista Pinot Noir. Ridge, one of the greatest producers in California, in my opinion. And then the final part.
I can't tell you whether it's a Merlot or Cabernet. Say, because it's a 1947 Cheval Blanc. About half Merlot, half Cabernet Franc. Gentlemen! 1947 Cheval Blanc, greatest wine ever made.
I haven't had the 47 Cheval Blanc before. I have had Cheval Blanc before. It's an amazing wine from the right bank of Bordeaux. The 1947 Cheval Blanc is considered to be one of the greatest wines of all time. In the film, they buy it for $50. $50! Let's see what we go for on Wine Searcher right now. Okay, on Wine Searcher, if you can find a bottle of 47, it's looking like you're spending anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000. The current vintage of Cheval Blanc is $700 to $800. So, you know, the price of these iconic wines has just went through the roof, which is disappointing because young people that are getting into wine don't get a chance to taste some of these benchmarks, unfortunately. Next is the film that got me into wine, the film Sideways. I knew literally nothing about wine until I saw the film, and I just found it so fascinating how passionate Miles got into wine.
Get some air into it. Oxygenating it opens it up. It unlocks the aromas, the flavors.
The knowledge, everything that went into it. After watching that film, I made a choice in my mind to say, you know what? I want to know about wine. Also has some ridiculous scenes to make wine people look like drunks and snobs, like this one.
Maybe some strawberry. Passion fruit. Oh, there's just like the faintest soupçon of like asparagus, and there's just a flutter of like a nutty Edam cheese.
Strawberries.
Yeah.
Not the cheese.
Jack, I get it. You know, I taste a lot of wine. I think it would be hard to find a nutty Edam cheese in rosé. That's just my personal take. Strawberries, yes, I definitely could find. I love this film so much. If I had the rights to it, I could probably do an entire reactions breakdown. I've seen this film so many times. I think it's fascinating. Not only because it's about wine, but I think it's a great film in general. The character development's awesome, and of course, it has the famous scene.
Just try to be your normal, humorous self, okay? The guy you were before the tailspin. Do you remember that guy? People love that guy. Don't forget, your novel is coming out in the fall.
Oh, really? How exciting. What's it called?
Come here, Miles. Come here. Do not sabotage me. If you want to be a fucking lightweight, then that's your call, but do not sabotage me.
Oh, aye, Captain, you got it.
And if they want to drink Merlot, we're drinking Merlot.
No, if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any fucking Merlot!
Okay, relax, Miles.
The sideways phenomenon. After that, the demand for Pinot Noir shot up. The demand for Merlot went down, which is ridiculous because Merlot, the great Merlot, makes some of the greatest wines in the world. People remember that line. Wine geeks remember that line. They don't remember that Miles also poo-pooed on a different grape in the film.
Well, I will tell you something. I've come never to expect greatness from a Cab Franc, and this one is no different. It's kind of a hollow, flabby, overripe.
I don't know. Tastes pretty good to me.
So yes, not only was he poo-pooing on Merlot, but he also poo-pooed on Cabernet Franc. But the entire film is about his prized possession, a Cheval Blanc, which he drinks by himself while wallowing in his pity at just some burger restaurant. Drinking a wine like that out of a styrofoam cup. Let me know in the comments below if anybody's drank any super nice wines in a styrofoam cup. Drop it below. I think the closest thing for me in Singapore, I've had nice wines at hawker centers where you have street food, and we had them in little glass mugs before. We brought some nice bottles. We didn't have any wine glasses. We had them in these little glass coffee mugs. I think that's the closest thing. But the real inside joke, the brilliance of the writing here, is that the Cheval Blanc is half Merlot, half Cabernet Franc. So all us wine geeks are like poo-pooing on Merlot, Cabernet Franc the whole film, and his favorite wine, his prized possession, is made up of those two grapes. So let me know if you like this. If you do like this, there are other wine scenes in films that I could probably tackle, or maybe I'll scour the internet for different wine memes, maybe even YouTube videos about wine. Let me know in the comments below. Keep drinking adventurously, and I'll see you at the next episode.
Hello, thanks for watching.
Hey, you made it to the end. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell so you know when new videos are out. If you like content like this, check out our Patreon page where you get some behind the scenes exclusive content. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Cheers.